sense?
That makes sense, yes. Yes.
All right. Did that answer your question?
No, well, it's an answer, but
What are you looking for?
what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for indicators, like the tipping, the tipping.
Yes.
So what appearances, what...
Did I not explain?
Not specific.
Do you know what synchronicity is?
I do, so...
That's one of the indicators.
Okay.
More synchronicity.
More synchronicity.
Yes. That's one of the indicators. More slippage in space-time. I'll give you a concrete example. All right?
Sure.
This actually happened to the channel. So you will understand that I'm telling you a story of something that actually happened in your reality physically. Yes?
Yes.
And this is an indication of a slippage in space and time, so to speak. Actually, what it is, in a sense, more precisely, is a skipping over of certain frames, certain parallel realities that the channel simply didn't agree to experience. Yes?
Yes.
The channel, as you say, coincidentally enough, happened to be in the area, generally speaking, that the channel is in now, at one time in what you call the past, and was going to meet a friend who would drive to the motel, pick him up, and go to lunch. Yes?
Yes.
Following me?
Yes, yes.
All right. Now, neither the channel nor the friend knew anything about the area whatsoever. Didn't know how to get to the place they said they were going to go for lunch. So they decided they will stop at the front desk of the hotel and ask the person at the front desk, how do we get to this place? The person at the front desk very cheerfully gave them explicit directions as to how to get there. And so they took off, followed the directions, and got there and had lunch. When they were on their way back, and they, in a sense, retraced their steps, they suddenly found themselves on your freeway miles away from where they started. And they go, wait a minute, how did we get here? And so they turned around, went back to the hotel, and decided to follow the directions again, step by step, which were actually very simple, nothing complicated at all, and found that by following those directions, you can't actually get to the place they got to. But they did anyway, because they so believed the person at the front desk was telling them the accurate directions, they just got there. But following those directions, for most of you, would simply not get you there. It's simply not physically possible according to the way you think of physical reality typically. Therefore, those are the kind of slippages in space and time that we're talking about as an indicator of when you're operating in a true, in-the-moment state. Do you understand?
Yes.
In total trust of whatever information you've been given, and you simply act on it in absolute belief, absolute knowing that that is so. And when you do that, then that is so. Period. It doesn't matter what space and time have to say about it. Space and time are your creations. And they will alter themselves and bend themselves in your consciousness and become very fluid and very flexible when you say, truly, this is so. Then it is so. So that is another indicator, and there are many more indicators. One very strong one also will be that what you call the so-called veil or barrier between the living and the dead, not so thick anymore. More communication with spirit. More understanding, true experiential understanding, that people that have died have not died. They've just walked into another room of a different frequency. And you will still be able to communicate with them more and more and more and more. That's another indicator of the acceleration of energy consciousness. Is this helping?
Yes, thank you.
Is that painting a clearer picture for you?
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I wanted to let you know that my voice is getting stronger.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And I wanted to ask a question about my future self.
Yes. Which future self? You mean the one that's immediately relevant to this particular life in terms of this time frame or a future self in another reality altogether?
Both.
All right, we'll let you slip that in. What about your future selves?
Just wondering, is the future necessarily tied to the things that we're seeing in the present?
No, you know they're not. The future is created from the present, but so is the past. Everything exists now. There really is no such thing as the future. There really is no such thing as the past. These are all probable coexisting parallel realities that all exist right now. When you are a certain state of being, that will determine the next thing you experience, what you call the future, which is simply the same moment in the present from another point of view. You create your sense of continuity. You create your sense of space and time and change. It's a side effect of the shifting of your consciousness through billions of parallel realities. So the future in that sense isn't set, although your spirit, shall we say your soul, in choosing to explore a certain theme, which you might call the idea loosely of destiny, may set up the idea of a certain pathway, a certain hallway that your physical self will walk down, but how you do that is really up to your free will, and there are many, many probable ways to experience that hallway. Even though it may be a similar theme from parallel reality to parallel reality, it is truly a separate reality. So it is up to you to determine what your so-called future is by whatever the state of being you are at any given moment. The next logical thing, the next logical continuity progression from that state is what you will then experience. But as you change yourself from moment to moment, you also change your past, because that's also an illusion. You're connecting to different train tracks, in a sense, both forward and back. Every time you orient yourself in a new vibrational direction, you get not only the future track, but a new past track. Because in linear terminology, in order to actually be a different person now, looking at it time-wise, you had to have a different history to get you here. You understand? So when you become a different person, you've changed your past. You don't have the same history.
Does this work for society as a whole?
It can, yes. The history of an entire society will shift when you shift to a different parallel Earth with a different history. Yes, of course. It's this and that, remember?
This and that.
Every level experiences these kinds of things in their own way.
So like the racial and class conflicts that we see existing can just be shifted through.
Have you ever had the experience where you go through an experience and then later on you change radically in some way, shape, or form, and someone comes up perhaps and says, "Say, do you remember that thing that happened 10 years ago?" And you go, "What thing?" It doesn't always mean that your memory is faulty. It may mean that that never actually happened to you. You understand?
Okay.
And that means that that can actually happen on a massive scale as well. When societies shift in tandem, then they have a different history as a society, as a group, if that's what they agree to experience. Yes?
Okay, so when you take a concept like karma,
Which is self-imposed,
and apply it to outdated ideas,
yes,
so these old-fashioned ideas can just shift.
yes. As soon as you change the definition, as soon as you have a full understanding of how to redefine these concepts, they appear very differently in your reality. Completely differently. They have a completely different feeling, a completely different way of being understood. They have a different way of appearing. So those that understand that karma is completely self-imposed and is simply representative of the idea of balance of energy and self-awareness and responsibility, which is the ability to respond, then it takes on a completely different tone than those that view the concept of karma as something that ties them to the past, that anchors them to the past, that means blame, or any of those other definitions. Has a completely different effect in your life and is experienced in a completely different way when you change the definition of these concepts to something that is more in alignment with who you prefer to be. And in fact, many of these concepts may disappear altogether. If you define them cleanly enough, you may not even need the concept anymore. There's no reason for you to even have a concept of karma, so to speak, in the way that you used to mean it. If you understand that it simply means the ability to choose, the ability to respond, the ability to balance, the ability to truly be and see who it is you prefer to be, and you're taking responsibility for the consequences of all your choices, then karma in the old way you used to mean it doesn't really play a part anymore. It's just you and being aware of what you're choosing and being responsible for what you choose. That's all it is.
Does the same go for history?
As I said, yes. There is any version of any history you can possibly imagine is happening somewhere in some coexisting parallel Earth. Do you understand? Any version of any history you can possibly imagine is actually happening right now on another Earth. If you decide that that's your vibration, ultimately you may allow yourself to shift to that Earth, and you may find that as now one of the inhabitants of that series of parallel realities, that history that you used to experience no longer applies, never applied to the new Earth you've shifted to. It will simply no longer be part of your consciousness. It will simply be no longer part of your experience if you choose to shift that strongly to a reality that's that different from the one you're experiencing now. Now, sometimes you can do this. Sometimes it's not relevant to do it. Sometimes the continuity you experience is relevant to your theme of exploration, and you won't necessarily break certain things about that continuity. But sometimes you will, because it's no longer relevant. This is, in some ways, part and parcel of the whole transformational idea, that you transform certain ideas to the point where you simply no longer have to abide by the consensus reality in that way, and can shift yourself to a reality that no longer has or never had that idea. It will simply leave. You see, here's the point. You don't actually know, because when you create the idea, when you shift to a new present and you create the idea of a new past, in a sense, so to speak, or a new future, how do you know you haven't already done this? How do you know that the history that you think is the history of your world was the history of the world you were in yesterday? Because it's going to seem, by its definition, it's going to seem as if it's always been your history. So how do you know you haven't gone through 10,000 histories in the last week? You don't. You just think it's never changed. You think, well, this has always been the way I learned this history as a child. But you see, you're creating that experience from the present. The instant you shift to a parallel Earth, you will suddenly create memories of having been a child being taught the history of that parallel Earth. So it will seem as if you've always known that this history was true and it's never changed, but you don't actually know that it hasn't, and in fact it has. Does that help?
Yeah, so in the future, if I want people to communicate more equally with one another, more compassion, then I just have to work on my...
You just need to be a compassionate communicator yourself and allow yourself to know that whatever it is you need to experience and whatever it is you are experiencing is germane to what you are choosing to learn from. Don't try to change other people. Don't insist on the way a certain reality must play out, because then you're just putting conditions on the outer reality and not actually changing. You see, the paradox is that a person who truly changes doesn't care whether the outside changes or not, because they know the outside is not a measure of what state of being they choose to be. So if you make it conditional, well, if the outside changes, then I know I will have changed. You will never see the outside change because you haven't actually changed. But if you say, I am this, and it doesn't matter what's going on out there, then you've changed, and then the outside can reflect that. That's the paradox. You have to not need the outside to change for it to more easily do so. Because the measure of change is not whether the outside has changed. The measure of change is whether you respond differently to the outside, even if it still looks the same. That's how you know you've changed.
Okay, thank
Clear?
you, Bashar. Yeah,
Thank you for your compassionate communication.
thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
So recently, about 2 months ago, I went up to this reservoir in the Bay Area.
All right.
It's,
Did you have any reservations about the reservoir?
not really. I was excited to go up
Oh,
there.
all right.
My friend who's here with me actually took me up there because he's been seeing UFOs for a long time up there.
Oh, all right.
So we went up there and immediately started seeing them about 5 minutes after we were up there.
All right.
And at first, they looked like stars, most of them.
And most
bright.
of them probably were. Everything you think is a UFO isn't always a UFO.
Well, a lot of them we would focus on.
Yes.
They were really bright and close up, and they were blinking. And then
Yes.
they'd start changing colors when we focused on them, and then start moving in the direction that we.
That doesn't
Told
mean
them-
that they are a spaceship.
They aren't. Okay.
It just may mean that you are changing your frequency in such a way as to receive light in a different fashion.
Okay. Well, then some of them actually would turn into what looked like an airplane,
All
and then
right.
start going by. But usually when there was another airplane going by it. And I don't know if they were shape-shifting into something else.
Again, this is relatively rare, although it does happen. You must understand something about the idea of UFOs. Not all of them are what you would call nuts and bolts ships. Thus, then, some of them are interdimensional aspects and projections of consciousness that can take on many forms in the sense of the idea that there is always going to be an interpretation in your physical reality about what those things are. They may appear to you in your reality terminology to look like certain things, whether or not the ship itself has actually changed shape. Because that's the way your mind interprets the energy of that dimension. You will make sense out of it to the best of your ability, and in that context, you're the one that's actually causing the shape to shift, not them.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, on average, of all the so-called sightings that are reported, on average, about 17% are what you would call extraterrestrial craft.
Okay.
The rest are different perceptions of different things for different reasons in different ways at different times.
Well, we had another one just appear out of nowhere, right above the reservoir.
Yes.
It was dark, so we couldn't see the reservoir, but we could tell where it was. And it floated up to my car, and this was a huge one.
All right.
Came right up to my car, and then it hovered above my car as we
All right.
scrambled in my car and drove away.
Why?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't really scared, but it was just.
But you drove away.
I know. I didn't feel anything negative, but it just.
But you
followed us.
drove away.
I know. Well, my friend wanted to get away too.
Why?
I don't know why.
Why?
Well, he's actually communicated with other beings.
So why did you drive away?
He had a bad feeling about it, and I'm like, okay, well, let's just go then.
That's the point.
Right.
The idea is that, as we said, when you encounter a higher frequency energy, it will often pull to the surface of your consciousness things that are beliefs and definitions out of alignment with yourself that have been buried in your unconscious mind. And by pulling them to the surface, you will suddenly feel fear. But the fear you feel is not of that thing. The fear you feel is of the belief within your own system.
I know, and I remember you saying that before, and as we were standing there, I was thinking that.
Yes. Well, there
and I
you
was
go.
Like, well, I don't want to run. But
Then in that sense, you were given a barometer to show you
Right.
how and what point you are ready for such contact.
Right.
It's not a bad thing. It's all right that you drove away. Don't berate yourself. Don't judge yourself. But the point is you were given a very clear indication of how ready you were or not.
Right.
Make
So,
sense?
yeah.
All right.
And
So
I'm just-
that one was a projection of a higher dimensional consciousness.
There was actually two other ones that flew over right before that looked exactly the same as that one.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that's the same kind of ship. And do you know what kind of beings that was?
To some degree, this is a combination of things, but one of the primary vibrational frequencies in it is what you would refer to in your nomenclature as Arcturian energy.
Okay.
because it's representative vibrationally of what you call the 1111 gateway, which is the filter of resonance of the true self, so that when you pass through it, on the other side, nothing is left but your true vibration. So you were given an opportunity to walk through that gate, you stuck your toe in. That's a good start.
So if I go up there again, I'm safe?
Up to you. Of course you're safe.
Okay. Well, I just didn't know because it seemed like there were so many UFOs up there. I didn't know if there was different kinds of beings.
There were not that many as you think.
Okay. Well, he says that he's communicated with the Pleiadians.
Let's put it to you another way. In most cases, many of the UFOs individuals are experiencing are simply unidentified, fearful objects within yourself.
Okay. Usually I'm excited about them, but
that's all right.
Just a reflex so that we just ran.
It's all part of the reflection. It's all part of our friendly service.
Okay, so he wanted me to ask about the Tsar because those were one of the people who communicated with him, and he hasn't been able to find any information on the Tsar. It's either SAR or ZAR.
What you often experience in your reality is that when you start making contact with higher levels of consciousness, those that you label with a Z or an X will more often than not be your own future selves.
Huh, okay.
You begin there to get familiar with the idea, and you move upward from there.
Okay.
All right?
And I have just really quick.
Yes.
So as we were driving off, there's a dam, quote unquote, dam project that they just put up there all of a sudden.
Are you swearing?
Maybe.
All right.
To me, I just got scared because I just got the feeling that it was government setting up shop, trying to figure out what's going on with the UFOs there.
And why are you afraid of that?
Because I don't trust the government.
Then you don't trust yourself.
Yeah, I know.
You are your governments.
I know.
Deal with it.
Okay. So then the other thing is is the Bay Area a hotspot for UFOs, or am I
There
just
are vortices around
stuff?
the Bay Area, in a sense what you might call vortex transit points, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But there are many such quote-unquote hot spots around your planet.
Okay. So the one that I've been seeing outside of my apartment is probably me just projecting whatever I'm seeing from a star, like you said?
Sometimes, not always.
Okay. Because it's been hanging out there a lot since
That's
I
all
was
right.
up there.
We will not go into that
Okay.
at this time.
Okay.
We'll just say, pleasant dreams.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
My heart's beating really fast. I hope it calms down a little bit.
How exciting.
I want to tell you a little bit about what I do for a living, and then I'm going to ask you a question about it.
All right.
I work as a marriage counselor. And,
How exciting.
And I see individuals and couples,
Yes.
variety of subjects.
Yes.
And my highest passion is working with individuals as they're uncovering their blocks and their belief systems that keep them from their highest.
As I said, how exciting.
And invariably, when I work with an individual and they reach a higher level of consciousness, their partner starts having problems.
All right.
So I bring them in together and start working on revamping their relationship agreement.
All right.
And my question has to do with our traditional marriage vow. It seems like it needs to be more fluid, or it needs to be...
Then invent one.
That's what I'm having a problem figuring out how...
Why are you having a problem with this? Isn't that a fun challenge?
It is definitely a fun
And why
challenge.
can't every individual or every couple decide what their vows are anyway?
I'd like that to be the case.
Well, it is the case in many cases. Is
Well,
it not? Are there not individuals or couples on your planet that create their own vows?
The people that
Are there not?
Yes, there are.
Then
Yes,
problem solved.
there are.
No?
With the couples that I'm seeing, the people that are vibrating at more like a red level, and the,
all right,
the
a
couple
red
that's-
level.
Yeah, like a lower frequency level.
Yes.
And the one that's expanded to maybe a higher vibrancy
Yes.
level. The
So
higher,
one you're saying is sort of stuck in old-fashioned
Yes,
definitions,
yes.
and one has gone beyond them.
Yes,
All right,
absolutely. So the higher vibratory partner can hold the energy of the lower one, but the lower one is faced with a choice.
Yes.
Either change
Match
or,
the frequency of the higher level
Yeah.
or not.
So I'm wondering, where are we going is our world vamping to a different traditional marriage? What, do you have some similar marriage vow on your planet?
No.
Okay, how does it?
We are all telepathically connected and all in one marriage.
Ah.
Our vow, if you want to call it that, is to be responsible, absolutely and totally responsible, not for anyone, but to everyone, to be our fullest selves. Because only when we choose to be our fullest selves do we thus then allow ourselves to be in a state where we absolutely validate the differences and the fullness of every other individual. And when we validate the differences in every other individual, we all work in harmony.
That's beautiful.
That's our marriage.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Your world, in a sense, can evolve and is evolving towards something similar, though it may still take a little while before you will experience that fully on your planet, but that's all right. You're exploring and examining all these things now on a fundamental level, which is exactly what you need to be doing.
Mm-hmm. I'm seeing that.
Yes. So thank you for your part in helping people examine these ideas and helping them to know that there are other options that can work for them more smoothly.
Very good. Thank you very much, Bashar.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And a you good day.
I wanted to thank you for saying what you said about fear, because
Oh,
I noticed that in my question, and then I noticed what beliefs were behind the question.
Thank you.
So I have a slightly different question now.
All right. Thank you for your transformation.
Thank you for noticing it. I was hoping you could redefine the word patience, because
You don't need patience. The only reason you need patience is because you're impatient. If you are doing what you love to do every moment, what do you have to be patient about? You see what I mean about no longer needing certain definitions? When you understand the nature and structure of your true existence, certain concepts just go by the wayside. Now, we understand that in a colloquial sense, in a lighter sense, patience can simply be the idea of someone simply being in perfect balance with what's going on and not being in any particular hurry and accepting and allowing everything that's happening. But that is the whole idea of living in the moment. But the idea is that they're enjoying that. So it's not like they need patience, because they're just having too much fun doing whatever they're doing, being in the moment with whatever is happening. They don't need patience, because patience implies you're waiting for something else better to come along. And they know there is nothing better than what's going on right now. And they fully engage with it. So patience doesn't even come into the equation, because they are never impatient, because they're never wanting to be anywhere other than where they are. Does that help?
It does. I'm
Yes.
wondering then, how is it we let go of the things that aren't our true self? And
Well,
just,
as we said, why would you want to drag them around? They're tiring, they're exhausting, they weigh you down, they have nothing to do with you. Why would you want to do that? Why don't you go out and find a 50-pound concrete block and start carrying it around everywhere? Why would you want to do that?
I have no idea.
Exactly. Neither do we. So when you get to the point where you finally look at the things that don't belong to you and finally say, I have no idea why I keep carrying this around, you'll drop it. But the only reason you would keep carrying it is you think you need it. You think it serves you somehow. And you're afraid to let it go because of the belief you've attached to it. Because you think it's either going to make you a bad person to let it go, or someone won't like you if you let it go, or you won't do this or get to do that if you let it go. And all these ideas you've attached to these things that really have nothing to do with you. It's exhausting trying to be someone you're not. Be who you are. It's so much more fun.
It is.
It's so much more easy. Yes?
It's funny. I noticed listening to you, my questions change because the belief that's behind the question
Yes.
gets dropped.
That's what happens when you let go of a lot of those beliefs that are not in alignment with you. The whole perspective shifts. You now have a clearer understanding of the nature of the structure of existence. And when you thus then compare your beliefs and your questions against that structure, you see what fits and what doesn't. And it becomes obvious. And whatever doesn't fit, it's gone. And whatever remains is all you need for you. And that's it. That's it.
Thank you, Bashar.
Does that help?
It does, absolutely.
Thank you.
Hello again for the very first time.
Thank you very much. Hello to you for the very first time once again.
And thank you once again for everything.
You are welcome for everything.
I was wondering if you can tell us more about the Mount Shasta area and how we can use that area to accelerate
It's
ourselves.
what you might euphemistically refer to as the crown chakra of your planet. Why don't you just go and explore and see what you find?
Oh, I have been. It's
Well,
been
then,
exciting.
what do you need to ask me about?
Well, I actually thought it was the root chakra. Am I mistaken?
Nope.
Okay.
Crown. Although, of course, in keeping with what we were talking about, this and that.
Right.
Because every vortex contains all vortices energy. The
Okay.
idea, however, is that generally speaking, as we look at the collective consciousness of your planet, most consider it to be the crown chakra energy. And what we have recently said is, when you look at the idea of the mountain, and you imagine the idea that above it is an inverted version of it going up, then you have a depiction of the non-physical crown chakra above your head, which is a cone pointing downwards, expanding upwards. Yes?
Yes.
So I'll give you that hint.
Hmm.
Then go and play in that energy and see what happens
Okay.
with that idea. Look at the mountain going up to a peak, and then see an inverted idea from a peak expanding outward. That being the crown chakra of the entire planet.
Okay.
Yes?
I will do that. Yes.
And?
What about the cloud formations that are usually very interesting happening around there? Can you tell us
Well,
anything
in
about
many
that?
vortices, there are all sorts of electromagnetic anomalies that will have an effect on your weather patterns.
Okay, but what I'm seeing is not necessarily anything other than the weather patterns being affected?
I didn't say that.
I know.
It can be sometimes. Sometimes it will simply be an electromagnetic effect on the weather. Sometimes it will be something else. It depends on what state you're in. It depends on what's relevant for you to perceive. As one of your famous psychologists and psychiatrists said, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. And sometimes it's a cigar-shaped ship, but not necessarily as often as you think.
Okay.
Let me put you in this frame of mind if you're willing to share this.
Sure.
We have from time to time shared with you what you might, if you wish, euphemistically call Bashar's rule of thumb with regard to UFOs. If you can't absolutely, unequivocally, without a shadow of a doubt tell that you're looking at an extraterrestrial spacecraft, then you're not. Even if you are. Because what's the point of wondering?
I wasn't sure if I was implying that to begin with.
I know,
Okay.
but some others were.
Of course.
And I'm addressing the group. Nevertheless, there are many things to see. Sometimes you can actually be seeing through a vortex into another reality in those electromagnetic disturbances, yes?
Yes.
And many other kinds of things. What do you perceive yourself?
With the clouds?
Yes.
It seems like they're just drawn to the peak of the mountain and they like to hover around it in circles.
All right. And so, what does that symbolize for you? Why did you bring it up?
Because I'm very intrigued by the area and I recently moved closer to the area and I just want to know
Yes.
more about it.
But the idea is that you imply that you were perceiving something other than a cloud.
Well, Also, when you run on the mountain, it feels hollow, so I wonder if the town of Atlantis really is living under there?
No, not in the way that you think.
Right. But that type of consciousness is present in that.
Any vortex can, depending upon the energy and vibration in which you enter it, lead to other dimensions that you might think are actually physically in your planet, but in fact you've actually shifted to another reality altogether. Just because many of the entrances happen to be underground on your planet doesn't mean that you're still underground when you walk through that gateway. Make sense? Many of the civilizations that people have said exist in a hollow earth don't actually exist in a hollow earth or under the ground on your planet at all. But if they have crossed through a doorway, a dimensional gateway into another reality, they may think that they're still under your earth, when in fact they may be in a completely different reality, a completely different dimension. Yes?
The other dimensional beings may think that.
Yes. But they're
Okay.
not actually literally in your physical plane inside your earth.
Okay. Kind of like when we're dreaming, we can't tell the difference necessarily.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
You can't necessarily tell the difference that you're no longer on your planet, so many people think that you are. When you encounter those other beings, they seem to be inside the earth, but that's just your interpretation because of your assumption of how that gateway is connected to your planet. You've actually shifted to another reality altogether, and if somebody were to follow you in that gate, follow you through that particular area, and actually enter a cave or a small hollow in the earth, and you've shifted and they don't, you would actually have disappeared.
That's
Make
fine
sense?
with me too, yes. Is the area of Redding, California at all affected by that type of energy, or is that totally different?
It is to some degree contained within that vortex, although it is somewhere near the edge.
Can you tell me anything else about the energy of Redding?
One moment. In what you call a time frame that you would relate to as somewhere between 300 to 1,000 of your years ago, there exists in that area, or existed if you wish to use the colloquial term, a small band of indigenous people that understood something very, very clearly about the idea of the Shasta vortex. They were able to use it in a certain way to expand their consciousness and communicate with beings in other dimensions very clearly. In and around the Redding area, there is still a stone that they fashioned very specifically to be representative of the vibrational frequency necessary to commune with those other dimensional beings. And if you will find that stone and touch it and meditate on it, you may suddenly find your mind being filled with communications from other beings, and some of them may say, "It's been such a long time, what happened to you?"
Any hints about the stone?
You'll know it when you see it.
Okay.
It's larger than you are.
Okay.
It may be slightly darker than you think.
Okay.
All right?
I had one more quick question, if I can.
Yes.
Is there any way I can, it's a change of topic. Is there any way I can better communicate with my cat what is going on with him? Because I feel like he's trying to tell me something, and I tried talking to him, and it's mostly a monologue.
Do you send pictures in your mind?
Yes, I need to better develop my skills with that, but yes.
If you will send pictures, your cat will perceive them and send you pictures back, or it may be interpreted in your mind in a variety of ways. However, again, it's up to you to use your imagination to create your own permission slip as to what will work best in that communication. Nevertheless, you understand that cats can more easily see into other dimensional planes, yes?
Yes.
Do you allow yourself to feel like a cat?
I suppose not.
When you allow yourself to truly feel as you imagine a cat feels, you will understand your cat a little bit better. Yes?
Okay, yes.
So why don't you go and perfect that technique?
That was perfect indeed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this timing, allow yourselves to take a very short break, and we will continue this transmission with your holotope meditation.
We're just about to get started now on this last leg of our journey together. As you can see here before